Hey buddy, it's Peter, and this is the 2025 Polaris Slingshot SL, and I just drove it, and now I want it. So this thing is one of the most misunderstood vehicles out there. It's been around for a while, it's had some updates along the way. In this video, I'm going to go over kind of what this is in concept, and then in the future, if you guys watch this at all, so make sure you like it, subscribe, do those kind of things, leave some positive comments. But if you like it, then we're going to get into some of the higher trims and show you the things you can really get on this thing. But again, for a base model, it's pretty well equipped. So, and we'll talk about pricing, we'll talk about some of those things that may matter to you. But like I said, in this video, I want to go over some of the misconceptions about this thing so that we can have an honest conversation about it. I got a lot of motorcycles like, hey, that thing's not a motorcycle, but we'll talk about that. I got a lot of car people, well, why would you get that? What's it for? It doesn't have this, it doesn't have that. And it's all kinds of things that's 100% correct. But this thing is super unique. And if you're the right buyer, it's super cool, and I totally understand why you would want one, especially if you've ever tried one out. So let's get going. Well, before we get going with this review, I'm filming here at Rally Motorplex, where they give me complete access to anything they sell. Now, I try to focus mostly on motorcycles and that kind of thing, but this thing is too intriguing for me because I am a fan of lightweight sports cars and I'm a fan of convertibles. And this is both. So I want to thank Rally Motorplex for letting me have complete access to their entire vehicle lineup. And yeah, let's get going with this review. All right, so let's talk about some of the misunderstandings of this thing. First of all, people argue, is this thing a motorcycle? Is it not a motorcycle? And none of that matters. The reality is that governments across the world, and at least here in North America, have to classify it as something so it's legal on the roads. In Canada and many of the United States, many of the states in the States require that a three-wheeled vehicle is a motorcycle. And what that means is a lot of things for the driver, and that's what we always think about. It means things like you gotta wear a helmet sometimes, and this is the case with this one, you gotta wear a helmet. But it also means something that if it's classified as a motorcycle, it gets around some of the requirements for a vehicle. For instance, this thing doesn't need side airbags or side curtain airbags. It doesn't need a lot of the extra weight that goes into a four-wheeled vehicle. If you made this a four-wheeled vehicle, it would not be able to be what it is. It has to add all kinds of weight. This thing's 1,746 pounds. It's super, super lightweight. And a lot of people think because it only has three wheels, it's not going to handle very well. Well, it can pull over a G, over 1 G in a turn, simply because of the way it's laid out, the way the weight's distributed. So this thing is absolutely a lightweight sports car. The only reason it's sold in motorcycle shops is because Polaris owns it, and it has to be classified as a motorcycle by the government to have a three-wheeled vehicle on the road. But that three-wheeled system, that three-wheeled thing, gives you something that's really unique to drive and makes it a lot of fun. So let's talk about some of the fun that you get, well, by going to the rear. So in a lot of my motorcycle reviews, I always start with the front wheel because you can tell the manufacturer's intent. Here we're going to look at the rear wheel. So we got to remember a couple things here. This is a unique vehicle. It can't be compared to a car or a motorcycle or anything else. But there are some things we can figure out here. First of all, this is a 20-inch rim. It's a single-sided swing arm like a motorcycle, a high-end motorcycle. So you get a view here, but you have sort of the swing arm on the other side. It's a belt drive on that side there. So again, belt drive, pretty lightweight drivetrain. That's, and again, part of what makes this thing kind of unique. Now this is a super wide tire, 255 35 ZR20, 20-inch rim here. There's 18-inch rims out front. So what is the benefit of a single wheel at the rear other than it can be classified as a motorcycle and you can cut a whole bunch of weight out of the vehicle that way? Let's talk about that. So the iconic lightweight sports car is the Mazda Miata, right? That's current day, but that was based on old British cars, which had like 60, 70, 80 horsepower, and they had narrow little wheels. First of all, the Mazda Miata's current rear wheels are 205 in width. This is 355, right? Is that the way I said, 355? I think so. There we go. Sorry, 255. So the current Mazda Miata is 205. This is 255. So this is wider than the Mazda Miata. Now it's also significantly lighter than the Mazda Miata. The Mazda Miata is an incredibly lightweight car, and this thing is incredibly lightweight compared to that. So you need less wheel on the ground to get some of that power and to have when you're handling that kind of thing. So what you get here is what people want. If you want to wag the rear tail a little bit, now this has a traction control that keeps things in line, but you get that little bit of a loose-ish feeling without swinging out and being crazy, but you have that fun feeling with this rear end simply because you're low to the ground and you've got the ability to swing it. However, it's not as little tired to the ground as you think. When you think about the weight of the vehicle and how much rubber's on the road, you have no problems putting that 180 horsepower down to the road and actually feeling like you really can accelerate quite fast. Now, when it comes to handling, most of that's done in the front. Let's take a look over there. So while the rear of the vehicle narrows significantly and then comes into that rear wheel that has enough traction to put the power down without any question, but still has enough looseness to be fun while not feeling at all out of control, the front has to be wide, right? You've eliminated the rear handling, but the front has to be wide. If you think about most modern day cars, a lot of them have understeer, which means that you put a lot of that cornering weight on that front outside tire. So if you were to turn left on this, turn away from the camera that way, away from me, you're going to put a lot of pressure on this tire. Well, this tire is capable of handling all of that because there's so little weight behind it. It can handle that weight. So like I said, over 1.06 G's, G-forces, which is the force of gravity essentially, 1.06 G's, this thing can corner. So this thing corners absolutely better than a Mazda Miata as far as grip goes, better than a Mazda Miata, better than a whole lot of sport cars. You're talking into supercar type territory with the way this can corner. And because it's lightweight and you've got big tires at the front, when you brake and that weight transfers forward, you've got a lot of braking power on the front, so you can brake late, turn fast, and have a whole lot of fun. This thing is a true lightweight sports car in a completely different body, and that's what it's like to drive. So let's just jump in the seating position. I want to show you that for a couple seconds, and then we'll show you what you've got in the dash as well. So jumping into this vehicle, let's be honest, it is a little bit awkward. There's no door, you're stepping in, you're stepping around the steering wheel, and I haven't figured out the exact perfect way to do that. I will tell you that there is plenty of legroom. I've had to move the seat forward. If I put it back, I can't even put the clutch to the floor at 6 feet tall. Once you do that, it beeps at you because it wants to know what you're doing. So we'll let it stop beeping for a second. The other thing that you've got is supportive and comfortable seats. They feel a little bit like racing seats. They're nice and firm, so you're not too plush that you just kind of feel like you're moving around in it. But you've got good support here, and you've got bodywork that's going to hold you as well in. But if you look here, it's literally beneath my leg. I've driven a Jeep with no doors, and this feels as open as that, but you are low to the ground. You've got a low windshield here. You've got a great driving position as well. That was a noisy motorcycle. You've got a great driving position as well. So you can move the steering and gauge cluster in a up-down fashion, so I'm going to put it right there. And again, if you've ever driven a Porsche Boxster, Porsche 911, you have this kind of feeling where you have two hands on the wheel, feels good. You don't want to be sitting like this in here. You want to have a good steering position, and in those types of cars, in those types of vehicles, this is what feels right, that close to you steering wheel, and you've got the big humps. You can see the wheels out in front of you. It's a very unique position. I'm going to take you in here in a second, but I want to emphasize that you are down low to the ground. I can touch the ground with my hands here, and it gives you a completely different feeling by doing that. By having the seats down low as well, your center of gravity is incredibly low. The entire vehicle is low. There's literally nothing above you except for the roll bars, but nothing you see in front of you. It gives you a unique feeling. You're not buying a vehicle, you're buying an experience with this, and that's one of the key things that I'm going to touch on as we move through this car. But let me bring you, I say car, bike, whatever you want to call it. Let's hop in here and we'll show you a look. All right, full disclosure here, I'm on a full wide angle camera just to give you a little bit better view. I normally bring a steady cam to do the inside of these vehicles. I didn't bring that today, and I do apologize. So hopefully this is smooth enough for you. But let's take a look inside the dash here. Oh, we got a lot of glare there. So you have a manual tachometer there, or sorry, manual speedometer there, and a manual analog speedometer, analog tachometer, and you can see a blue dash in here. I apologize for showing myself in there. All I do is press the clutch and this comes live. So it's in miles per hour. You can set it to kilometers per hour. You got a fuel gauge on the right. Why don't we just start it up here? We can show you how loud it is here. So you've got a sporty sounding engine, you've got a tachometer there on top, kind of gives you some information. Again, we can show you through the dash a little bit later. VDC is Vehicle Dynamics Control, so it's got those advanced electronics to keep you in control. And then over here, you've got a whole bunch of things going on. You can see a nice color screen here. It's a manual transmission in this one, so you can see the manual there. If I throw it in reverse, it's going to get mad at me because I'm not seat belted, but you do have a backup camera, which is pretty needed, to be very honest. It's a little tough to guess where the back of this vehicle is. In that center spine, you have a rear brake light, which is pretty cool. But overall, very simple stuff. You've got your traction control on and off as a toggle switch. You've got your four-way flashers, the start button right there, and that's kind of it. Now through here, you do have some extra controls. You have the Polaris Slingshot symbol there. You can enter into some menus in here. That's the cruise control as well, and some menus. And over here, there's a Rockford Fosgate sound system in here, so you do have good sound even in the base level unit right here. So pretty cool car. Pretty cool vehicle to sit in, but definitely the feeling you get is this is very, very much a sports car. You can really see, like I said, the exact corners of this car. It's hard to show you on camera because we have two eyes, the camera's only got one, so it's hard to show you exactly what my view is like. But again, same thing here, is if I reach down here, I can just touch that white line very easily without even stretching to reach there. So you've got that really low feeling, and you're very much buying the experience of what this is. So let me show you the rear the back of this car. I want to show you the lighting on there as well, and then we're going to talk about who this is for and what we can talk about in the future. All right, I have not tested this out, but let's just sort of see how it looks. I want to show you the rear lighting in here as I hop in, but of course I can't film and see it at the same time, so I'm going to hop in here awkwardly. I am going to, let's see, if I hit the brake lights here, can I connect? Nope, we can't connect. So we'll go brake lights, start it up, and there you go. You can see the brake lights there coming on there. You also can see the hazard warning lights if I turn them on there. So kind of a cool system here. You've got really big lighting out back there, but obviously that massive tire, that super unique look at the rear end there, that's what you're looking at when you come up behind this, and everybody's going to want to see what this thing is. So let's talk about who this thing is for. Now I talked already off the bat that you got things like the Mazda Miata, you got things like this Subaru BRZ and Toyota's version of that, the FR86 or whatever they're, GR86 I believe they're calling it now. Anyways, you've got options for lightweight sports cars. What I will say about this is some people come and say, well, you get a trunk in the bigger trunk. You do have storage behind the seat here, well we'll show you that for another video, but some people say, oh, you got the trunk, you got this, you got that, you got all these things in those other vehicles, and that's true. But if you look at buying a nice Ducati, for the same price you can buy a minivan, they're not the same thing. And that's the truth with this. You are buying something that cannot be bought in the automotive market. You can get something that sort of is like it, kind of like the current Mini Cooper is sort of like the original Mini Cooper, but not at all. And if you want to buy a Mazda Miata or a Subaru BRZ or something like that, then buy that. This offers you something different. This offers you something that you can't buy in 2025 if it has four wheels. The really low down vehicle, the really lightweight vehicle with 180 horsepower on this kind of power, it's quite fast. And again, you would never think that this thing can corner as well as it can. Pulling that over 1G was supercar-like cornering not that long ago. And even today, it's still very much supercar-like cornering. So you've got something here where you're buying something that is basically unattainable in a newish vehicle that has a warranty with it, that has modern pieces and parts that you can pick up from a dealership and service at a dealership. You're getting something truly unique here. Now, yeah, you could get a vehicle with a roof and you could use it all year round, and that's an option for you, but this thing isn't about that. This is about buying that Ferrari you've always wanted without paying Ferrari prices. And I'm not saying it's a Ferrari, but it's something that you would have thought that drive experience was unobtainable to you, you can actually get in this. So who cares if you need a motorcycle license? The reason you need a motorcycle license is because it allows it to be something unique. You don't have to put all of these things that you put in a modern car into something that is not classified as a car. Who cares if it's not your thing? If someone's out there enjoying this thing, you should give them a smile and a nod, because I can tell you right now, I would happily take one of these and ride it all over the place. This thing is super cool, and it really is a motorsport experience that is unlike anything else, that you can just have fun on all the roads around you. You have to go to a track with a high-end sports car to get the feeling of this thing just running around the roads. If you want something that draws a crowd, this also will do that. I can tell you that for sure. If you want to be anonymous, probably don't get this color. And honestly, don't get this vehicle. So there's my quick review of the Slingshot SL, just the base version. If you think you'd like to see more of these things, let's go move up the ladder, move up the line, and talk about some of the extra accessories and pieces and parts that you can get in. We'll talk about the things I didn't mention in this video. This is kind of a what is this video. The next one I can talk about what's in it kind of video. We'll pick a higher trim line for that. So super cool vehicle. I don't care if that's not for you, that's totally fine. I'm totally into it. It's really, really cool, even if it is really, really different.